Welcome to Fury Knock Faihe. You are currently listening to Vion Tricky on the 21st, no, the 27th of May at 23:05. Owens asked me to record this log because he's out doing something for David right now and he won't be back in a while. It also appears that he's lost his phone somewhere in Kodak and he can't seem to find it. Hello? I guess you'll be stuck with me for now until we can find some alternative for him. I've also been instructed to record in Owen's house to quote-unquote keep the integrity of the audio. So if you hear noise in the background, that'll be why. I have information about what's been happening as of recent, but Jaden looked over Owen's channel, Osurito, I think that's its name, and he didn't exactly cover much of what happened in the mansion about a month ago, or even 2 weeks ago, so I'll be going over that week, then what happened before that description video, and then our current events. So, 2 weeks ago, Owen found a passageway in the basement of Maglara, and in it he found a book that had the phrase Audrey. Sorry, I'm trying to recall it. I need to pull it up real quick. The phrase Audrey Karen scratched into it. The phrase itself translated to freedom of the fallen, and it took us a while to translate it because it was written in an older version of Brysonian Widustrian, right? And the Kodak Dimension usually uses both Krinolan and Illinokian versions. Of course, English is our main language, though. Anyway, we, as a group, of course, tried to test the word on the vault at the mansion, but it kept saying that we needed to wait. David explained that this was something that happened fairly often with some of the older codes, so all of us as a group would get up at like 5 or 9, or well, 5 usually, but we'd get up at 9 if Owen didn't have school or work, and we'd go to the mansion to test the phrase. I will explain soon why we no longer have to do that anymore, but I'll cover the week when we found Benson. So, Benson. Yes. Me and Owen found Benson. He's a brown otter with a tan-ish undercoat. I'd say about 159 centimeters in height. I believe that's about 5'2" in Imperial. Anyway, he was startled at first, and then he got angry, thinking we were going to throw him out, until he realized that David and Tyson were there. Benson said that he had a strange feeling that the two of them would be back, even though they died. He was excited and gave us details about what's happening ever since they died. So, you know, expectedly, the mansion was abandoned after the murders, and Benson held out hope for them, hoping they'd return, and 10 years later, they're back. Benson tried to keep the mansion in proper order, but keeping a 3-story mansion clean by yourself is quite the task, so he eventually gave up, but he still kept the hope. He told us he found a piece of a medallion, one that was used in a sort of scavenger game they played on David's body, and after... Oh, yeah. The medallion symbol had the star sign of Reginans, which is also known as Pisces and other Very sorry about that. Uh, as I am in his apartment, Owen's apartment, he has an air conditioning unit, and it is loud, and I cannot record while it is on. Anyways, back to what we were saying. The medallion had the symbol of Reginaz, which is also known as Pisces in some other parts of the world. Terrell, Tyson's father, used to work at the mansion, and he was instructed to hide parts of these medallions. The second half of the Reginaz medallion he hid in the mirror of Tyson's room. Unsurprisingly, it was still there, and it fit perfectly with the other piece. After we pieced the medallion together, we went into a cabin of sorts that had 4 pedestals with 3 slots in them, all of which were filled except for the Reginald slot. Benson put the medallion in its proper slot, and there was this screen that lit up with the word Kenori, which in English means search. David immediately recognized it as a code for the vault, and we went down to the basement, and he typed in the code. It was accepted, and the vault opened with this blinding light. Each of us saw and heard different things when it opened. Most of it was about Percy and what happened to him, as well as the 4 people from the coffee shop. In order of occurrence, Alex saw a rabbit named Jack Purin, who looked as if they'd been killed by Percy. Alex said that Percy had the sigil of Raymont, an entity who now lives in the dimension, engraved in his eyes, meaning that he, at some point, took a deal with him. After that, Blair heard and saw a conversation between Terrell's dad, whose name is Bevel Traynor, and a shadowy figure who we've decided to call the Stalker. Most of the conversation was muffled, but it was toward the end where she heard him say, "Burn it down, and bring me those hyenas," which could refer to Oscar, and maybe even David or Amy. The day this conversation took place was on the 12th of August, 2006, a day before Benson's dad's house was burned down. It is suspected that Benson's dad had information that could possibly harm Bevel's reputation, so he had him killed. Benson saw the burning house in his vision. After that, Owen heard a conversation, and he only heard it, he could not see anything. He heard a conversation between Bevel and Percy before he changed his name, so it's Justin. They had a discussion about the murders that were happening, which, at that point, there were 14 people who had been murdered, nearly 3 for each city in Colmac, all of which were related to Bevel and his activities. So, Bevel suspected that Justin was the murderer, and he confessed to it. After that, Tyson told us that Justin killed Bevel and ran off, changing his name to Percy after 5 years in hiding. The death of Bevel supposedly concluded the terms of the deal he made with Raymond, which we tried asking Raymond himself what the terms were, but ever since his separation from he's completely blanked on every deal that he's made since then. Before I explain this next part, I need to provide context on Terrell. When we found him, originally back in 2022, 3 days after our whole revamping of the Kodak dimension, at least I think it was, he wasn't the Terrell we have now. We found him in a dimension outside of Kodak, which we never got a name for. Nor does it actually have a name yet, so we just call it the Hub. He said he just appeared there one day, and so we took him in because he had nowhere else to go. However, his time wasn't so pleasant throughout his time. Yeah, am I saying that right? Probably. Anyways, halfway through his time there, it was suspected that he was, well, hurting a few of the women in Kodak, specifically Amy. So we sent him up to Kola, who then sent him off somewhere else. What's worse, he... Again, sorry about that. So, back to what I was saying, before I was so rudely interrupted. So, we sent him up to Kola, who sent him off somewhere else. What's worse, he doesn't even know where Terrell ended up. After about 3 months later, during David and Tyson's marriage, he showed up again, with a few other people trying to prevent the marriage. Because of this, we had to fight them off, with, of all people, David being the one to initiate, though I suppose it is to be expected. Thankfully, we were able to push them back and have them thrown into some form of prison they had at the hub, and the marriage was carried out as normal. On the 27th of February, 2023, I believe 3 days after Eyes revealed that he was actually Simon, how do I phrase this? Simon found Terrell unconscious in a bush. When we took him in for questioning, Tyson noticed that his eyes were a different color than before. This one's eyes were a pale yellow, but the one we kicked out and fought against had light orange eyes. Not only that, but yellow eye Terrell doesn't even remember being kicked out. We did some tests, only to discover that this Terrell's body was composed entirely of soul, despite him being able to bleed and whatnot. Hurting this body would cause harm to the soul directly. So because of that, we drew the conclusion that, similarly to David, Terrell's soul and conscience had been fragmented at some point before we kicked him out, splitting into an unknown amount of pieces. Now that that's established, let's discuss what happened after Tyson's Missoula, which is past visions have been referred to by Taylor. Anyways, Terrell saw the faces of 17 people flash by him, only 2 of which he's actually seen. The only people that we could actually correlate between our visions were Jack, Bevel, Percy, and that Terrell. The faces were presumably victims of Percy's murders. But if that were the case, why would Terrell and Percy himself be there? Anyways, I'm sure there's something to it. On to me. I saw this orange-eyed Terrell and Senzin, which we have confirmed his memory was wiped on the 13th of October, 2020. They kidnapped Percy on the 23rd of February, 2014. And because our Terrell's eyes aren't orange, we haven't accused him of anything. E.G. saw Percy being taken down to the basement of the mansion by Senzin and that orange-eyed Terrell. Taylor said that he was stuck behind the vault door, and he was the only one here. Or there, sorry. The door was cracked, allowing him to see a little outside, and he saw a code being typed on the keypad for the vault. Once it was entered, the vision cut out, and he woke up. Sorry, I should probably have the notes pulled up here. Where is it? Oh, I'm looking on the wrong thing. Oh. Let's see here. You've... I'm going to scream. I absolutely... I'm back. And, I got permission from Owen to, disable the AC. So, hopefully it won't be a problem. Now, back to what I was saying. Owen's info is wrong. Anyway, Jacob was back in Kodak, and he saw that same black figure crawling, climbing into Oscar's window, which proved our theories about that conversation we had with Bevel. Which proved our theories about that conversation he had with Bevel. Alright, I'm back. Sorry, had to clear my head. Anyways, something that I do remember, David said that he was locked in a padded cell with laughter all around him, and, something Owen failed to mention in his notes was, when David looked around, he could see Oscar, unconscious. And when he looked at his when he looked at his hands, they were his dad's. This means that David's father and his brother are locked in a padded cell together somewhere. We still don't know where, but hopefully that'll be revealed to us at some point. Amy, David's mother, saw the owners of the coffee shop, Specker, Walker, Lenza, and Memia all tied up together. Walker was blindfolded. Memia had headphones playing static. Owen also failed to mention this part, but Amy thinks Lenza was also meant to have the same headphones, but they appeared to have been thrown off. Miss Specker was the only one who didn't have any sort of ailment attached to her. When Amy tried getting their attention, she was pulled out of her vision. Yes, lastly, finally. Jaden, we believe, was in that room with them as well, except he could only hear the room. 4 people were breathing in sync with each other. He was able to move around, but when he got up and tried to walk, he could hear a woman, Miss Specker, calling out for help. He woke up after he heard her, sorry. On to our current events. Let's see, what did I say earlier? Oh yeah, we don't. So, since these past 2 weeks, we've no longer had to get up so early because of William. Yes, William. He got involved in this. Well, without really meaning to, but I mean, hey, the bun's been a massive help. So to start, he was only concerned about why we haven't been back in the Kodak dimension. Sorry. Usually as often as we have. David wanted to keep the disappearance of his brother and father a secret because he was afraid that the members would lose faith. But Jaden basically forced David to tell him because, like all members of Kodak, at least I believe, should know about this. William took it surprisingly well and even promised to not tell anyone, even though I really wish he would. But anyways, Jaden told me to take him down to the mansion to explain where we think they are, but I couldn't even get a sentence in before William noticed something about the vault's terminal. It was made by a company called... Sorry, all this talking's got me up. What was that company's name again? Unruoto? Inaroto. There it is. Okay. The vault's terminal was made by a company named Inaroto, a company who now focuses on household appliances, but before William's incident, they created computers. William recognized the terminal's interface as the same one used for the Caltrama 2 computer. He held a few keys down on the keyboard and the program for the vault closed, showing a variety of other programs. Unfortunately, the computer itself only came with a basic keyboard, no mouse, but also a few USB ports, so we informed everyone about it, and EG gave us a mouse. Everyone now, except for Owen, I'm pretty sure he was at work at that time, came with us to the mansion and observed. William plugged the mouse in, and it worked as expected. He began looking through the computer's files to see if there was anything of interest, and eventually he found a list of dates with codes attached to each date. All the codes were in English, but they had to be translated to a specific Widustrian language in order to work. We told him about the code we found, but the list started from the year, what was it? 1981, and there was only one code for each week. The computer, unfortunately, never came with a find feature, or whatever they call it now, nor was there a scroll bar, so William, Jaden, EG, and Terrell would spend the next week and a half trying to find this code. We eventually found it, but William must have been so burnt out by it, considering he had to teach on top of it. But yes, the code is scheduled to activate on the second week of June this year. Or, wait, no, not second week. Sorry, I'm trying my best to remember. I'll have to ask William eventually, but for now, I want to say it's the fourth week, actually. Here, actually, I'm gonna go give him a message. Where's my phone? I should probably pause this. Okay, I was way off. It's the fourth week of July, not June. My apologies. It's scheduled to activate on the fourth week of July this year. So when that time rolls around, we'll be sure to enter it. Hopefully it'll work. I fear what might happen if it doesn't, but we checked later in this list, and search was a valid entry, so it should work. Also, one of my best friends, Warrior, from way back when, before I even entered the Kodak Dimension, showed up at Owen's door, and it turns out that she's Owen's mother. She was also a but for some reason they were all just freed at some point. I don't know why, but Jacob seems to know. I'll have to ask him about it later. Until then, we'll see you later. Owen should have this uploaded on his channel as well. Again, I think it's called Osirado. Which, his graduation is next week. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. Oh, also, before I go, I was told to emphasize that the Dimension has no access to our group channel, Phi-Hey. Something's gone up with it, and we still don't know what's been happening, but somehow it should be uploaded there as well. I hope you all have a nice day, night, whatever type of time you're experiencing. It's the